The situation of the Ukrainian army and NATO forces continues to deteriorate rapidly in almost all directions of the front. So, a few minutes ago, war correspondents reported that the Russian army units launched an offensive toward the city of Konstantinovka, without waiting for the liberation of Chasiv Yar. In particular, war correspondents confirmed that on the morning of November 11, Russian troops entered the strategically important settlement of Stupochki, located 6 kilometers east of the quite large city of Konstantinovka. It is reported that a few days before, Russian troops destroyed a powerful fortified area of the 5th Separate Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Army, located between the settlements of Stupochki and Ivanskoye. Thus, the Russian army managed to reduce the pressure on its units in this section of the combat contact line, and prepare a bridgehead for a further offensive on the city of Konstantinovka. The advance of Russian troops toward this city makes it much more difficult for the Ukrainian army to maneuver. It is reported that the Ukrainian army units are constantly trying to regroup their forces, to stabilize defensive positions in this direction of the front. However, very often they fail to do this. In general, war correspondents note that over the past 5 days, the activity of Russian troops has increased significantly in Konstantinovka direction of the front. If the Russian army's offensive tempo does not decrease, the battle for Konstantinovka may begin in the first days of December this year. Meanwhile, on November 11, at 3 p.m. Moscow time, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation officially announced the liberation of the strategically important settlement of Kolesnikovka, in Kharkiv direction of the front, 20 kilometers southeast of the city of Kupyansk. Moreover, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation Andrei Belousov personally congratulated the soldiers of the 347th Motorized Rifle Regiment on the liberation of this urban-type settlement. Your decisive and courageous actions make it possible to push back the enemy and make a significant contribution to the overall advancement of the Russian army in this direction of the front. During this special military operation, all the soldiers of your regiment, showing courage and perseverance, successfully conduct combat operations and multiply the history of military glory, the Russian defense minister said. Commenting on the liberation of Kolesnikovka, war correspondents noted that during the battle for this settlement, the fighters of the group of troops under the designation Zapad defeated the manpower and equipment of the 92nd, 63rd, 60th, 43rd, and 14th Mechanized Brigades of the Ukrainian Army. In addition, over the past 24 hours, the fighters of the group of troops under the designation Sever also defeated the Ukrainian formations of the 120th, 116th, 115th, and 105th Brigades of Territorial Defense in the northern part of the Kharkiv region, near the settlement of Volchansk. By the way, over the past 10 days, the activity of the Russian army in the Kharkiv direction of the front has increased significantly. This was noticed not only by Ukrainian telegram channels, but also by Western military experts from numerous American and European analytical centers. For example, American military experts from the Institute for the Study of War noted that Russian troops have significantly intensified rocket and bomb attacks on the Kharkiv region, especially on the city of Kharkiv. It is reported that in the last 5 days alone, Russian combat aviation has dropped more than 100 guided aerial bombs of the Fab family on Kharkiv. Most of the strikes were carried out on the industrial and energy infrastructure of the city, as well as places of temporary deployment of personnel of the Ukrainian army and foreign mercenaries. Against this backdrop, the head of the Kiev regime Vladimir Zelensky even held an emergency meeting with Ukrainian generals and NATO military advisors. It is reported that the main topic at this meeting was the situation in the Kharkiv direction of the front. According to insiders, during this meeting, the Americans said that the Russians were preparing for an offensive on Kharkiv, and that 2025 would be marked by the battle for this city. According to the US military, the Russians will launch an assault on Kharkiv immediately after they capture Kupyansk. According to them, Russian troops will be covering Kharkiv from the north and southeast, trying to encircle this huge city. Against this backdrop, American generals advised Ukrainians to mine this metropolis from all sides, and also create large stocks of food and ammunition, in case the blockade of Kharkiv lasted for many years. The fact that the Russians will launch an offensive on the city of Kharkiv immediately after they liberate Kupyansk was also stated by many Ukrainian military experts. In particular, the well-known Ukrainian military expert Bogdan Moroshnikov admitted that Russian troops have significantly intensified offensive operations to the northeast and southeast of Kupyansk. Moreover, this Ukrainian military expert also acknowledged that the Russian army managed to break through the defensive line of the Ukrainian troops south of Sinkovka and north of Kolesnikovka, as a result of which Russian forces took under fire control of vast territories east of Kupyansk. It is reported that the average speed of the Russian army's advance in the Kupyansk direction of the front is 5 kilometers per day. Meanwhile, the governor of the Kherson region Vladimir Seldo officially announced that French soldiers had begun to join the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kherson direction of the front. According to him, in Kherson direction of the front, French soldiers and mercenaries do not wear military uniforms for security reasons. They refuse to wear military uniforms for fear of being detected by Russian reconnaissance drones. However, even these precautions did not save the French soldiers from imminent death. In particular, on November 10, Ukrainian partisans informed the Russian military about the arrival of a new group of French soldiers, who were secretly placed in the building of a local school, in the northwestern part of the city of Kherson. In total, according to reports, there were about 50 French soldiers in this school. Immediately after that, an Iskander-M ballistic missile struck the building of this school. Unfortunately, as of November 12, there is still no accurate data on the number of casualties among French soldiers. However, Ukrainian partisans reported a large number of ambulances that were sent to the site of the missile attack. All this indicates that the number of casualties among French soldiers is quite large.